We've talked a lot about sports betting ads and what we think might be at least a more noticeable tick up as we head into NFL season. It is the prime acquisition season for these guys. And of course, there's other sports books that are entering the market. We just mentioned about Fanatics coming in. Bet365 is entering new markets, etc. So there's at least going to be new players in some of these markets for them to come in and add to what it's already been some of these other books that are marketing out there. I guess maybe we didn't quite know it, Dustin, because we just I guess got used to it or something like that. But there actually a story came out yesterday over at LSR that said the ads were actually up.
Yeah, I mean, this is fascinating. This is, the non-NFL part of the season.
Yeah.
We saw the data from iSpot, which tracks advertising in the United States, had from January to August 15th, 25% up for sports betting ad impressions year over year, which is kind of crazy when we take everything we know, like, oh, regulators are reining in, oh, we're trying to get to profitability, oh, we're spending less on marketing. There's actually been more ads. It's obviously where they're spending it is a bit of a, is part of that too. They're not necessarily always just on NFL games or things like that where the inventory is much more expensive, but there's just more because of different channels or where they're going. It was fascinating to read that the most popular destination for the ads was a lot of syndicated stuff in a lot of places. Friends is the one. Friends, the sitcom. South Park. These are barely the big draws for ad impressions. So instead of spending a lot for a smaller amount of inventory on a live game, they're going to syndication or something like that, where it's much cheaper presumably, but you still, if you convert at the right rate or that channel is working, putting a commercial on Friends, then you continue to do that. So it's fascinating that despite everything in the macro, that there's actually more ads out there in the world, and maybe that kind of dovetails with people's experience that there's still a lot of this out there. Even though there's a little bit of pullback on how much they're spending and maybe where.
We know that there will no longer be any Barstool Sportsbook. We know that Barstool, as far as the gaming space goes, at least from an operator standpoint, not going to be around. I imagine there's going to be someone take a risk on doing some marketing and gambling and some marketing spend and maybe even some partnership stuff with them. I guess, Dustin, I don't know. I mean, we shall see as that all goes, but we did get some news throughout the course of all this, despite the fact that the company, did get bought back for just $1 from Penn. There's going to be some reductions over there.
Yeah, this is not really a sports betting story anymore because Barstool Sports isn't in it, but it is kind of like the aftermath of what we saw, right, with Penn and all of that. But so it's fascinating to learn a little bit of what was happening. Barstool, yes, the top line news is laying off 25% of its employees. Dave Portnoy announced this week, result in 100 jobs. And I'm going to flip this back to you because I'm having trouble understanding all of this. So they have around 430 people. It says the reporting I see at the New York Post says they added around 300 people in the 3.5 years with Penn. So I'm not sure people understand this. Most of the people on the podcast probably understand this, but these people were not being hired to run the sportsbook. That was over on Penn, right? Penn Interactive, like those are the people who are doing the marketing for the sportsbook, doing the actually running the actual sportsbook and everything that goes along with it. So I'm having trouble squaring what these people were doing. Portnoy on a podcast the other day was saying, "Oh, these are a lot of business people. We've heard this is a lot of because it's a public traded company. It's a regulated company that there's needed more of these positions. Okay, I can buy some of that, but 300 people and then they're losing money is the other part of this. That's why they're doing this. They're losing, according to Portnoy, $1 million a month. So what were these 300 people doing, and why? Because it wasn't obviously not doing they weren't doing anything to convert people to gambling, which was really supposed to be Barstool's main mission, aside from growing the media business. So I'm at a loss of what these 300 people were doing, and I haven't seen a listing of what they do, but I'm a little confused.
Yeah, no, I mean, I looked too to see if it was anybody, that maybe I'd recognize something because like you said, the people that were doing the gambling content for them, it's not like that they're gone. They're going to still do gambling content. Right. It's just whether, it just depends on how they go about it. But they were using guys that that had already been there and were there for a long time. Anyway, they weren't acquiring these guys to do gambling content, right? I mean, it was already, they were using some of their more prominent kind of characters and stuff that were doing the most of that content. So yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I think I don't frequent the site. I think they had almost tried to take on more like almost like a yard barker-ish type like approach there for a while, where there was like a blog on everything, like there was basically a blog for like every single college and a blog, whatever. But I don't know if that had to do with some of the downsizing too, just because like you can only assume that the bigger schools are going to have bigger followings and the smaller schools are going to have smaller followings. And at what point does the juice not be worth the squeeze, with all that? But yeah, it was super interesting. About 100 people, I guess, are being let go today, which is certainly a big bummer. But we see this a lot, Dustin, right? I mean, like companies, they start to get bigger, they start to grow, then they overhire. And then when they overhire, then they have to immediately go, oh, we overhired. And then they have to kind of like get back into somewhere between where they should have actually grown to and where they thought they were going to grow to. And you kind of like settle in at a level. So probably what ended up happening over there at Barstool.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like, I just don't know why Penn was greenlighting like 300 jobs. Like, what was the business plan? Because like they weren't really growing the media empire. They weren't really, like I said, they didn't hire a bunch of people to like do gambling content and to try to convert people to gamblers. So, like, yes, I can buy some of these people. Like, public trade company, you need better accountants, you need better HR people, you need some stuff, but that's not 300 people. It's not even 100 people, like to make that happen. So it is just a mystery to me. Like what, like, so yeah, I mean, we've kind of given Barstool a little bit of a pass on this and kind of laid the blame at Penn's feet, but like why, like it's at this one's both. Like why were there 300 people hired and there doesn't seem to be any plan to like make them better as a gambling acquisition funnel. So that's the mystery to me.
Sometimes when you get handed a blank check, you write like an extra zero on it, and I think that's probably what ended up happening here. It was just like, oh, we have the freedom to do whatever. All right, then let's just go ahead and see how far we can push this, until they tell us to stop. Well, the answer, the stop is when it was no longer being paid for by somebody else. It's when it's being paid for by Barstool yet again.